شما خزیان مغبه أنا ایوان رومین جونس بشانتیتون آخورز doing business in America. من قم خورزن شارخله بیانا فرصة شقلنا قد إيدوخم برخانة اتلي هيبي قد عشيت بدوية شيت تراب خمسة بدوية خاشيت شلامة خاشيت سلاماتويتا و peace on earth قد كل برناشيتا لابتوب فابت ميقرا ستيفن ميسيك قد إلخا author خا كتابة و بالخالة الخا فيلمه ستيفن أوبيله قاشة جوف أرمي chaplain اللي جو أرمي عادي قبل خلبشنا ميقرا ستيفن قد بازت فيلمو بتهمزم و بازت movie making business بتهمزم أخ Stephen, welcome back to Doing Business in America.
All right, it's good to be here.
Tell us about your movie.
Well, I am working on a movie about the origins of the Assyrian church. We're going to title it The Acts of the Apostle Thaddeus. In Aramaic, it's Mar Adai, and it's the story of the Assyrian king Abgar and how he was ill, and he heard of Jesus, the miracle worker, and he sent for Jesus to come and heal him. And Jesus was crucified and resurrected, and then the apostle Thomas sent Thaddeus to go and heal this king. This king was healed, and this is the beginning of the Assyrian Church of the East. So this is a very important story about the history of the Assyrian people.
Now, Apostle Thaddeus, he passed away, or he died in, or I don't know if he was crucified or killed in Iran, from what I am told. And there's a church resurrected. Well, there's a church. The oldest church in Azerbaijan is actually the Armenian church that is built on apparently the possible location of his burial ground. Is that correct?
Thaddeus was very important. Of course, he's very important to the Assyrian people, but also he evangelized into the region of Armenia, and this Armenian king named Sanatruk, martyred Thaddeus. And so there's that shrine there, which is attests to this ancient tradition of one of the apostles of Jesus founding the Church of the East, the Assyrian church, but also the Armenian church as well.
Now, I know this church is most of the Iranians, Assyrian Iranians or Armenian Iranians, they go to this church and they call it Qare Kelisa. And so it was recently, a few years ago, it was actually uncovered, and then they also repaired it. There was major, but I think it's one of the oldest churches that's in a very good shape.
Right. I saw some information about that church as well. What I'm trying to do in this film is to tell the story from the ancient accounts, as faithfully as possible. You have to use a little dramatic license to take the story and convey it into a film, but I want to be very, very reverent with the material, but also try to be as accurate as possible, because this is an important story to the Assyrians and the Armenian people. But I think this is also a very relevant story. One of the reasons why I think this movie is important is especially with what's going on in ISIS today. And I deal with that in the film. In the introduction, I talk about who the Assyrian people are and the threats they face. And I think this story needs to be told so that people can become aware of who the Assyrian people are and their important historical contributions. And this is one of the first churches to come in existence. It's a very ancient community, and this story needs to be told so that we can, create awareness and perhaps get people involved to help the people over there right now who are suffering such terrible deprivations because of the onslaught of ISIS. So that's the whole purpose of the movie.
Now, Steve, you wrote the script, correct?
Yes, I was working on a project about the Apostle Thomas in India, but I put that aside and I put this to the forefront. In that script, I dealt with Thaddeus as well, because the stories are connected. It was Thomas who sent Thaddeus to go and heal King Abgar and to preach the gospel in Mesopotamia. But I decided that this needs to be a standalone story to tell the story of Thaddeus, Mar Adai, and Mar Marai, the Apostle Thaddeus and the Apostle Marai. And like I said, I'm taking it from ancient sources like Eusebius' Church History and the Doctrine of Adai, which is written in Syriac Aramaic. So yeah, I wrote it, but I'm basing it on the ancient traditions. And I did other research to see what the Armenians and others are saying as well.
Now, who's producing it?
We have an Assyrian production team. You know, Billy Haydu, and he's coming on your program next week, I believe, and he'll talk about their involvement. What I'm trying to do with this movie is we have a production company in Texas called Walker Cable Productions, and they've worked with Lorenzo Lamas a lot. And Lorenzo Lamas is going to come, and he's going to portray the Apostle Thaddeus. He's agreed to do that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's Walker Cable Productions in Texas, and we're teaming up with Strategic Entertainment with Billy Haydu, who belongs to the Assyrian community in Chicago, serving as the executive producer. And I want to get the Assyrian community very involved in this project. And I hopefully this will help the community because, you know, I'll get them involved in working with, you know, big named actor like Lorenzo Lamas, executive producing a movie. Hopefully we could have a very wide distribution of it. And I also want to get Assyrians involved in many of the main roles so we can help Assyrian Americans get started their careers in filmmaking and producing, but also we'll have, like I said, the 6 main roles will go to Assyrian Americans. So in acting and in producing, we get the Assyrian community involved in the business of filmmaking. But at this time, I think why don't we show the first video? This is our promo video. And in this video, you'll be introduced to Walker Cable Productions, and we'll see Lorenzo Lamas, and he'll express, you know, his excitement about being involved in this project.
Hello, I'm Chuck Walker. I'm the writer-director of Walker Cable Productions, kind of the creative head. You know, we've done a lot of movies in the last 25 years in a lot of genres. Action, adventure, westerns, family films, horror films, intrigue, suspense, drama, romance, you name it. But we're especially excited about the Acts of the Apostle Thaddeus. We anticipate that the movie will be shot at the historic Alamo Village. Of course, that's the set built by John Wayne for the historic movie The Alamo. It might seem kind of like an odd choice for a biblical epic, but actually the Adobe infrastructure and architecture is exactly perfect for what we need for this movie.
Hello, my name is Stephen Missick. I'm the screenwriter for the movie project we're working on, The Acts of the Apostle Thaddeus. This tells the story of Thaddeus, one of the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ. It's based on the writings of the early church fathers, and I think this is a very unique story and that's never been told before on film. It's also particularly relevant because it tells the story of the Assyrian people, and now we see the Assyrian people in danger because of the rise of ISIS and their persecution of Christians.
We're also very excited to have a good friend play the title role in this movie, Lorenzo Lamas as Thaddeus.
Hi, I'm Lorenzo Lamas, and I'm thrilled to be working on Thaddeus, the new Walker Cable production. These are terrific guys and a wonderful production company that I've had the pleasure of working with many, many times in the past. So if you have an opportunity to invest in a Walker Cable production, don't hesitate. You will not regret it. So I'm excited about being a part of this Christian movie. I think it's an important time for our society to embrace the Christian faith. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
We're excited about your interest and your involvement in our project, and we hope to see you on the set.
So Steve, how does the process work? So you wrote the script and then you actually tried to locate a producer. How did this whole team come about?
Well, actually what happened is a man that comes to our church, he's known this producer, which is Sam Cable, all the way from kindergarten. So I knew this man. He knew that a producer contacted me saying, you know, we need to make a movie about St. Thomas in India. And I was thinking, well, that's a great idea. Because it's an exciting story. And if you notice, there's a lot of movies that have come out recently, like Life of Pi, Slumdog Millionaire, that have that Indian theme. So I was thinking, well, you know, this shows how that Christianity isn't just a Western European religion, it's an Eastern religion. And, you know, deal with the story of the birth of the Assyrian Church of the East. And of course, the St. Thomas Christians in India are part of the Assyrian Church tradition to this day. So then I went on to decide to do the movie about Thaddeus instead, and he just got me together with Sam Cable, the producer, who is one of his best friends, and Chuck Walker, the director. And then we started developing it. I wrote the script. Like I said, I based the script on ancient historical sources. I put this in the video. We can go to this video next, and where I describe that, this script is not a product of my imagination. Of course, you have to use imagination to try to, piece the story together and make it accessible to modern audience, right? But I talk about the sources I went to, ancient sources from the early church fathers and from the writings of the Assyrian Church of the East. So this will be a video where I talk about the historical sources and that we have.
Hello, I'm Stephen Andrew Missick. I'm the screenwriter for our upcoming film, The Acts of the Apostle Thaddeus. And I want to answer some questions that people might have about the story. Where did the story come from? Well, it's not a product of my imagination. Really, it's based on a lot of historical research I did. One of the earliest accounts of the story of Thaddeus going to preach to the Assyrian people in Edessa is from one of the earliest Christian histories. In the year 325, Eusebius wrote a history of the church. And what he did was he told the story of the church going from the time of the apostles till his own day in 325, when Constantine stopped the persecution of Christians. So in that account, he starts off where the book of the Acts of the Apostle leaves off and goes on to his own day. When he was doing the research, he talked about Thaddeus, one of the 12 apostles of Jesus, and how Thaddeus went and carried the gospel to Edessa, Thaddeus and Thomas. But what he did was he heard a story that the king of Edessa, a king named Abgar, was ill at the time of Christ and sent a message to Jesus that Jesus would come and heal him. Jesus received the message, but told the messenger that on a later time he would send one of his apostles, who would be the apostle Thaddeus, to go and pray for the ailing king and heal him. So Eusebius, as a historian, he went and he did research in the royal archives of the city of Edessa, and he found a copy of the letter, which you can see here. And this letter is written in the Syriac form of Aramaic, and it's a form of Aramaic very close to the language of Jesus Christ. Historians have found that Jesus spoke Aramaic, and this letter is an Aramaic letter from King Abgar to Jesus, asking for Jesus to come to Edessa to heal him. And Jesus' verbal response is written on here as well. Eusebius isn't the only one. There was a Spanish woman named Agraria who went to Edessa and saw the letter of Abgar herself. This isn't just based on Eusebius. There's an ancient story of the Apostle Thaddeus called the Doctrine of Addai, which is also written in the Aramaic language. Other sources include, for this film project, include the Aramaic writing called the Acts of the Apostle Mari. According to the tradition of Assyrian Christians found in these ancient sources, the Apostle Thaddeus and one of the 70 apostles, a man named Mari, came and preached the gospel to the Assyrian people and founded the Assyrian Church of the East. There's also other accounts I've used. In the script, there's the part where we talk about the martyrdom of Thaddeus. And according to the ancient records from Armenians, Thaddeus went to the region of Armenia where he was confronted by the tyrant king Sanatruk. The daughter of the king, named Sandukt, received the gospel at the preaching of Thaddeus and was converted. But Sanatruk decided he was going to persecute the apostle Thaddeus and put his daughter to death. So she was one of the earliest martyrs of Armenia, and her faith actually motivated people to believe in Jesus. And based on the preaching of the apostle Thaddeus and the martyr Sanduk, the church in Armenia was established. So I wrote the script, but it's not really a product of my imagination. It's a product of research. And if you want to learn more, you could buy the Ecclesiastical History of Eusebius or read the Doctrine of Addai. Or there's also accounts that have come down to us from Armenian Christians. So in this story, I'm trying to be as faithful as I can to the ancient sources.
Now, where are you in the process now? I mean, I'm sure there's the costume design, location. Where are we now?
Right now, we're still doing fundraising right now. That's the important thing. And while we're raising the funds for the film, we have a lot of things going on, which I'll just discuss in order. Chuck Walker, he's the director, and he put together a video for us too, where he's going to discuss his ideas and his philosophy about directing. Chuck has directed over 20 films, and several of his films were released by Lionsgate, which is now a major Hollywood production company. So I just let him talk about his ideas about directing.
Hello, I'm Chuck Walker. I'm the director of this epic film we're getting ready to embark on. Some folks asked me what my directing style would be, because I've never done something of this nature, of a biblical background and religious overtones. But I think overall, I think what I would say is that I want to humanize the project. In other words, much the same as today, back in the days of Christ, a lot of people think that everybody just ran around with a big book and stood on a mountain and gave sermons, which obviously many did, but that's not the case with the entire population. In other words, folks back then, just like today, had families. They had to figure out how to make a living. They had to figure out how they were going to eat, figure out what their recreation would be, trying to raise children, raise good children. Hopefully someday maybe they would become grandparents themselves. In other words, it's a family structure, and it wasn't all just running around preaching and giving sermons. People were people back then just as they are now. And what I'd like to do is bring that out. In other words, the affection between the two leads, between Thaddeus and his wife. Obviously some people were called upon, and the responsibility was foisted upon them to preach the word or make big changes, and thank God that happened. But overall, I'd like to just kind of point out that folks were real folks back then. They had the same trials and tribulations as people today. And from a standpoint of technical directing, I'm going to keep the camera moving. I don't want a lot of big long sermons where the camera stays in one place and one guy talks. We want to make it a little bit more interesting than that. So I'm going to keep the camera moving and keep folks moving in the screen. Composition, I think, of the scenes will be important, because I'm going to have a lot of depth to it. There's a lot of open territory back in those at Babylonia and whatnot. So it'll be a challenging thing for me. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to do it. It's something different, something that most directors don't ever get the opportunity to do. And we're just looking forward to a good project and telling a good story.
Okay. Other aspects about filmmaking that are important, of course, we have to have a good location. And Chuck and Sam, the director and producer, they filmed a lot of westerns, and they have a location that's just actually it's a film set built south of San Antonio here in Texas, and there's a whole section of that set that looks like it could be Mesopotamia or Bible land. And I've looked at it, and I think this would be a great set for this movie, where this set will double for Palestine and Iraq and Armenia. This set was built by John Wayne in 1959 for his movie The Alamo, and it's been a working set for decades, and many people have expanded on it. And there's some in this video, which is coming up, people can see many photographs of the set, and Chuck talking about what he's done in that set before and his experience working there.
Once again, Chuck Walker here, going to talk to you a little bit about the location. We'll be shooting at the historic Alamo Village, which was built around 1958-59 for the historic movie The Alamo, starring John Wayne. John Wayne actually made a deal with the landowners out there to build the set, and the landowners simply said, "We'll let you do that, but leave it up when you leave." So consequently, the set became just an infamous place for films throughout the next half century. My company, Walker Cable Productions, has done numerous films out there from beginning in 2004 all the way to now. We've shot probably 4 or 5 films out there. It's a wonderful place to shoot. Nice people. It's in Bracketville, Texas, which is about 30 miles this side of the Mexican border, very close to Coahuila. Anyway, the structure, the infrastructure there is, for the most part, adobe. There are several streets. One is the more traditional Western town, like we're used to seeing in our old Western movies and Western television series. But they do have in addition to the Alamo itself, which is certainly could pass for Babylonia or Assyria or Israel, wherever. There's also a street within the Alamo Village that is more southwestern. As a matter of fact, it's more of a Mexico type place. And it also has a lot of adobe structures, a lot of things that look very, very much like the biblical era. We're going to take advantage of all that and not have to, obviously not have to construct a set. So when we start shooting out there, the buildings will be in place. The dirt streets will have probably a camel or two here and there, a donkey, and a lot of extras. And we're going to tell our story within the confines of the old Alamo and the Alamo Village. So we're looking forward to it. We're sure hoping that you get involved. Thank you very much.
Sets like that, do you actually rent the space? How do you go make a movie there? Do you actually rent slots?
Well, the Alamo Village set has been used for many films, such as Lonesome Dove and many other movies. In fact, like a lot of even commercials that had a Western theme have used this set. The thing is that Chuck and Sam, one of the genres they worked in a lot are Westerns. So they're really on first name basis with the owners of that set. So they know the people who own it, and they've filmed several movies there before. So they have a good, close relationship. So it's going to be an easy thing for us to get that set, which is good because it looks like a very, very good set for what we're trying to do.
But there's a cost involved, right?
Yes. Okay. We have the budget of the film, and yeah, there's going to be some fees for using that set, but it's not going to eat up a lot of our budget, and it's worth it. It's a good set. I'm looking forward to filming there. Other things that we've done is I'm a little bit of an artist myself. I think in one of the other programs, I showed the illustrated history of the Assyrian people from the time of the Bible times to today. That's you can actually get that book on Amazon. It's called The Assyrians, the Oldest Christian People. It's like a comic book. So I've used a lot of my artwork to do storyboards and production design. So we also have a video about that, art and concept design and storyboarding for the movie, the Acts of the Apostle Thaddeus.
Hello, I'm Stephen Missick. I'd like to invite you to one of our webisodes about the making of this upcoming movie, The Acts of the Apostle Thaddeus, which will be starring Lorenzo Lamas. And in the other programs, we talked about the historical background, we talked about costume design and location. But on this little episode, I want to talk about art. And I'm somewhat of an artist. You could see here, this is one of my portfolios for this project. This shows the Apostle Thaddeus and the Apostle Mari preaching in Assyria and Babylonia. So you can see these pictures I've worked on, pictures showing various scenes which will be in the movie. We got production design drawings, set drawings, but also storyboards. This is a age-old way of making movies where you do little comic book type artwork before you actually shoot. So we have some storyboards and drawings and set designs. So I want to share that with you. I've created most of this artwork myself. A couple of the pieces are by my father and my brother. I guess we're an artistic family. But this is an important component of movie making, which is production design, storyboarding, and I've been producing most of this artwork myself to make the story of Thaddeus come alive in artwork, but now also come alive as a motion picture. So I hope you continue to follow our webisodes here and enjoy our upcoming film, The Acts of the Apostle Thaddeus.
About costume design, I've been able to acquire several really nice costumes that have been used in movies. I've got costumes that were used in the HBO's Rome. I have costumes that were used in Star's Spartacus, and I have several costumes that were used and suits of armor that were used in Dwayne Johnson's Hercules. So we have a collection of costumes and suits of armor that were used in other movies besides that. Also, the Oliver Stone's Alexander. So I have a good start of costumes. We have a young woman who's done several plays, some ancient Greek plays, and she's also doing Into the Woods. She's a young woman. She's still in high school, but she's done 3 or 4 plays already, and now we thought we'd give this opportunity for her to make costumes, because I do have some good costumes, but we're going to have the apostle preaching to crowds, for instance. So we're going to need several costumes, and she's very good. I've seen her work, and on this video you can see her. Well, you can see the costumes I have that we'll be using in this movie, and you see this young woman named Tia, and also you'll be able to see some of her work. So it's very excited to have Tia involved in this project.
Hello, I'm Stephen Andrew Missick. I'm the screenwriter for this upcoming movie project we're working on, The Acts of the Apostle Thaddeus. And while we're developing this film, there's several important things for making a good film. One is location, and we have an excellent location, Alamo Village. But another thing is costumes. And I think it's important that we have good, realistic, authentic costumes. So I've been able to acquire screen-used costumes from various movies, from the HBO's Rome, from the Star's Spartacus, and several costumes from the recent Dwayne Johnson Hercules movie. That these are screen-used costumes that we're going to use in our film. But we have to supplement that, and so we have here our costume maker and designer, Tia. Tell us about yourself, Tia.
Hi, my name is Tia Louie, and I am the costume designer for this upcoming project about Thaddeus. And I've had a little experience designing costumes just in high school shows.
Tell us what you've done before.
I've done the 1920s show Thoroughly Modern Millie. It's a musical. And I've also had experience with the works of Euripides with Trojan women.
So you've done something that's set in the ancient past before. So how long have you been doing this, working as a seamstress and making costumes and wardrobe?
I've been sewing since 4th grade, actually. But I just recently started designing in 9th grade, I think. So
you've designed your own wardrobe and costumes and dresses, but you also make several too, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, we'll see some of the work you've done before. So what do you feel about doing actually a movie, a biblical movie?
It's really exciting for me, especially since I'm only in high school. It's a great opportunity, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. You might get to dress Lorenzo Lamas, who's going to be playing our lead as the Apostle Thaddeus. So I've been trying to. We're going to get some material so you can look and research the period and do it. Okay. So, all right. So this is Tia. She's going to be working on our costumes and our wardrobe. It's good to have her as part of our team.
So as far as you said that you were going to recruit some Assyrian actors to get involved in the movie. Now, can people come and audition?
Well, there's one way to get in the movie for sure is we have a Kickstarter. That's how we're trying to raise a lot of money. And I'd like to appeal to everybody out there watching this program. Go to Kickstarter search projects, put Acts of Thaddeus in, it should come right up. And if you can give just a little bit, 5, 10, 15, 100, 500, however much you can afford to give to make this project happen. And of course, if you give so much, you're guaranteed to have a role in the film as an extra. So of course, once we get the funding, the financing the movie together, then we're going to try to fill these roles. Billy Haydu, of course, I'll be involved in that too, and our director will be involved in getting these 6 roles to Assyrian Americans. But I think it's really a great honor to have Lorenzo Lamas involved in this project. He has a very long career in television and also in movies. He was in Grease with John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. He had a major role in that movie. Probably the biggest role he had was in the 90s, this program, very successful program called The Renegade, where he played a type of bounty hunter character. So he's from a big Hollywood family. His father was Fernando Lamas, big in the older generation of Hollywood. And so he has experience in film, but also in television. And he's worked with Chuck Walker and Sam Cable in several movies in the past. In fact, Lorenzo Lamas's autobiography just came out last week. And I think it's on page 213, but he mentions working with Chuck. So they're close friends. So it's really good to have Lorenzo Lamas involved to give this stature to this project. And he's playing, of course, the lead role as the Apostle Thaddeus. If you watched the video before, he expressed his excitement about being in this program. Now,
I'm sure you have written a business plan for this project.
Yeah, that's one thing we did. We got a budget and a business plan. The original idea that we had was, to get some financiers together. We decided to give Kickstarter a chance where, anybody that's interested in this program could go and give to make it happen. So right now the Kickstarter is up, and I hope that, anybody that's watching this program, help us out, help us make this movie, because I think this movie can make a big difference. It gets the Assyrian story out there, it can educate people, and I think at this time it's important for the Assyrian people to get the message out, because I'm concerned about what's going on in Syria and Iraq, and people are still, we need to give to those people. They need our Syrian refugees, they need blankets and sleeping bags and things like that, humanitarian supplies. But people are still watching movies, people are still making movies. So if people are going to still be watching and making movies, then maybe we could use movies to get the story out. And once people are aware who the Assyrian people are, maybe we could help them to motivate them to give and to save the Assyrian people. So that's one of the purposes that I have in this movie. It's about the message of Jesus Christ, how Jesus sent his apostle Thaddeus to bring the message of salvation to the Assyrian people. But it's also an important chapter in the history of the Assyrian people. And it's a story I think that needs to be told. And I hope that we can change the world through this film possibly. One thing I want to stress is in making this movie, I want to honor the scriptures. I want to honor the ancient writings of the Assyrian Church of the East. And I've talked to bishops of the Assyrian Church of the East to make sure that they're involved. And I've sent them the script too. And I've taken suggestions from them. I talked to Mar Awa. I've heard from Mar Apramathiel. Mar Kamis. I've talked to, I've heard from him too. But I hope to get the church behind this project, because my intention is to honor the Church of the East and also be very reverent in handling the spiritual legacy of the Assyrian people. So I'm not just doing this on my own. I want feedback. And first off, I want to be faithful to the original sources and reverent, but I also want to get the church leaders to know about this project and to endorse it. So I've received encouraging words from various bishops of the Assyrian Church.
Have they committed to any dollar amount?
Hopefully they'll encourage some people to give, and we might have some fundraisers later on. But for those people out there in your listening audience, if they want to support, there's two ways they can support. Number one, you can just go online to Kickstarter and search projects and find the Acts of Thaddeus and give. But another way, say you're not really computer literate, Billy Haydo has opened up a an LLC and it's a P.O. box number. So just make the check out to access of Thaddeus to P.O. Box 5341, Skokie, Illinois 60077. So if you want to send a check instead of messing around the computer, that's the way you could do that. I should probably repeat that address again. Just write the address would be Access Thaddeus, and that's where you make the check out to. And the P.O. Box number is 5341, Skokie, Illinois 60077. So just summing up some things, this is a movie project where it's telling the Assyrian story about how the Assyrian Church of the East was began by the apostles of Jesus Christ. It's telling about an important Assyrian historical figure, which is King Abgar Ukama, who was called the top arch. He's basically the king of the city-state, an Aramaic, Syriac-speaking city-state. In fact, when you go to the Church of the East, the form of Aramaic that's used there is called Syriac. It's very close to the way Jesus spoke Aramaic, but that specific dialect was the form of Aramaic spoken in Edessa, which is where this miracle took place, where this Assyrian king Abgar was healed by Mar Adai, the apostle of Jesus Christ. So this is an important story about the historical Assyrian legacy, the Assyrian cultural heritage, but it's also an opportunity to help Assyrians get involved in the business of filmmaking. Billy Haydu's had experience making Assyrian language films. This is going to be his first English language project, if I'm correct. But we got him and other Assyrians. He's got Vincent Shade and Marty Kushaba, I believe, is his executive producing team. But like I said, we got Lorenzo Lamas, and we're going to try to get many Assyrian Americans to fill important roles. And for the Assyrians who work as extras or who have those roles, they're going to be able to work with Lorenzo Lamas, established Hollywood figure. In fact, Lorenzo Lamas is on TV right now. He's on Celebrity Apprentice, so he's on TV every week. But they get to work with him and possibly learn the art of filmmaking from people who've made 20 movies from him, who has a long and storied Hollywood career. So I think this is a very important opportunity for the Assyrian people to help Assyrian Americans get involved in the business of filmmaking, but also to get the story out. And I really believe that the story of St. Thaddeus, the story of Jesus, is also the story of the Assyrian people and their historical contributions. I think this movie can make a real big difference, and I think people need to get this story told and to hear it. So if you're an Assyrian American out there and you have just $5, $10, please go to Kickstarter or write a check to the P.O. Box. I have a YouTube channel, Aramaic 12, where you can watch the production videos. Or there's the Aramaic Herald blog, where I have details about the film so people can learn, like you said, about the business plan and things like that. It's all online.
So Steve, tell us about how much money do we need to make a film like that?
Okay, it's going to cost us, we're doing it as a low budget, limited budget movie. So we're going to do it around $150,000. But part of that money that we're raising on Kickstarter is $80,000. Of course, we got to pay Mr. Lamas, a fair wage to be in this movie. He's probably being paid a lower wage just out of friendship with Chuck and Sam. So we got to pay him. We got to pay for the using the set, and of course our actors and actresses and supplementing costumes and things like that. So there's a lot of things that we have in the budget. So it's going to be really tight. But if we meet the $80,000 on Kickstarter, this movie will be made. We have some other people who might, God willing, give the rest of the money. But I'm hoping that the thing is, that's why I appeal to the Assyrian community out there. Just give, if many people give a little bit, there'll be no problem in reaching our goal. But the problem with Kickstarter is if you don't make the goal of the $80,000, then you lose everything. So hopefully people can give. And of course, if we make over $80,000, all that money is going to be used to make the movie even a better project. So I just hope everybody can give a little bit to help us meet that $80,000 goal on Kickstarter. So I think it's really, people say, "Oh, it's a lot of money." Not for making a movie, right? This is a moderate to low budget film, and we can make it happen if we get the money. So hopefully, just enough people give to help us make the $80,000 on Kickstarter. Then this movie will happen. And we're going to be filming in March if everything goes forward with the fundraising in mid-March. So once we get the money, we need to start auditioning Assyrian Americans in the role. And of course, it's not going to be all Assyrians. We're going to have just other people, Americans as other roles in the film. So
Play.
in it. Well, what I want to do, yeah, you can be an extra if you want to. But what I'd like to do is that when this project happens, I believe by faith that it will. We want you to come down to the set, and you could do a news story there.
Oh, I will be happy to. That will be fun.
It'd be a lot of fun. Maybe you get to interview, as a reporter, you could interview Lorenzo Lamas perhaps and do things like that. So yeah, we'd love to have you visit our set if we meet the fundraising goal and we go into production in film in March.
Kickstarter is it an organization? I'm not familiar with Kickstarter. Tell us about that one.
Kickstarter is called a crowd fundraising site, and people go there with an idea instead of going through traditional, money making or fundraising ways, finding investors and stuff like that. You just go to the general public. There's different projects you can have there: art, maybe theater. We're doing a movie, documentaries. One interesting thing I believe was on Kickstarter is someone was inventing a hoverboard, like on the Back to the Future things. Remember that? A skateboard without wheels that just hovered. So this guy had this idea to do it. Of course, it had to have. You can only use it on a certain surface. There's always a catch to it. But he invented a working hoverboard. So to raise the money to produce this thing, he went on Kickstarter and said, "Hey, anybody that wants to have a real, hoverboard, just give us a little bit of money." And of course, there's usually incentives on Kickstarter, like what we're doing. It's like if you give a little bit of money, you might get a thank you letter. If you give a little bit more, you maybe get a signed autographed picture of Lorenzo Lamas. If you give even more, you get to be an extra in the movie. If you give more, you get to be listed as a producer. So the more people give, and sometimes it starts as low as $1. I think we got it going up to over $5,000. So that's how it works. That's how Kickstarter works. We're giving it a try, and so I just want to make an appeal to the Assyrian American public and all Assyrians out there. This is about the Assyrian heritage. This project has the Assyrian community and some church leaders involved in it, and just $5, $10, $15, $100, whatever you can give, can make this movie a reality. And like I said, it's a very important way to communicate who the Assyrian people are and what their historical contributions are as well.
So Steve, let's say you don't get the $80,000. What happens to the money that people have given to Kickstarter? Does Kickstarter keep the money? No.
I believe how it works out is you have to, if you have an Amazon account, it's like charged to your Amazon account. So if you go to Kickstarter, they'll probably have you set up an Amazon account just to pay the money. If we don't meet the goal of $80,000, nobody's charged anything, right? But if we hit $80,000, we hit our goal, then the transaction will be processed. That's how it works. So yeah, we want people to give and want to process the transaction. But if you look at it and I hope we meet the goal. But if we don't, then nobody's pays anything.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Well, I hope you do meet the goal.
Yeah. Okay, so once more, we got the Kickstarter, but there are people out there who aren't computer savvy, you don't have an Amazon account or whatnot. There's the other way to give. The first way we want you to give, if you want to support this project and make this happen, to get the Assyrian story out there and to give Assyrian Americans a chance to begin a career in acting or in filmmaking, go to Kickstarter and give that way. If you're not all computer savvy and just want to write a check, it's Acts of Thaddeus. That's who you make the check out to and write the letter to. And that's P.O. Box 5341, Skokie, Illinois, 60077. And if you want more information, you should be able to search the Acts of Thaddeus online. And I got all kinds of information about it on my blog, The Aramaic Herald.
Steve, how long is this movie? Is it an hour movie or?
No, it's going to be the average length for a movie. In America, when you have a motion picture, it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours long. So the movie is going to be at least an hour and a half long. It's going to be like a standard theatrical release. This isn't just a 1 hour like TV movie. This is going to be an actual motion picture. So yeah, we're shooting for, it's going to be less than 2 hours, but it's going to be an hour and a half to 2 hours long. And if you're a script writer and you want a script that you want the studios to look at, it has to be 90 to 120 pages long. If it's shorter than that, the studios aren't going to look at it. If it's longer than that, they're not going to look at it either. It has to be, for an American audience, it has to be 90 minutes to an hour and a half. I mean, an hour and a half to 2 hours long. That's what I meant. If you write it too long, they're not going to look at your script either. Unless you're Steven Spielberg or George Lucas or Peter Jackson, you can break the rules that way. But just somebody that's going to write. I want to break into screenwriting. I want to make movies. Those are the industry standards. The script has to be for a movie that's 90 to 120 minutes long. That's what the studios want. That's because that's what the American audience wants. You don't want to go to a movie and just be there for an hour. It's like I paid to watch this movie. It's just an hour long. So we're gonna make it like a regular Hollywood release.
And it's going to be shown in theaters once you.
Perhaps. But now what we're going after is to have it on DVD, but also maybe on Netflix and things like that. If we don't get a major studio, that's possible. We're going to try for that. If we get it, everything goes together, we're going to try to get a good distributor and get it in theaters. If that doesn't happen, what we're going to do is we're going to show it in Assyrian communities in Chicago, in San Jose, down in Turlock and San Diego. And of course, we'll show it in the Houston area as well. So we'll get the movie that it'll be released in the community in Texas. We only have like one small Assyrian church in Houston. It's not really a big Assyrian community there, but we're going to get the movie will be shown in certain locations, however we go about it, and then the idea is to get it on video on demand and things like that, and on DVD, so that everybody will have access to the film.
And how long do you think it's going to take to finish it?
What was that?
How long do you think it's going to take from the start to finish?
All right, we're sort of in we're in pre-production right now, and if we get the funding, we'll have everything ready to go in mid-March. Then you have post-production, which is going to take a few months. But I'd have to defer to Sam and Chuck. They're the big filmmakers, but I believe we should have it all edited and shown before the end of 2015. So yeah, we film it in March, and hopefully before the year is over. It'll be out in theaters, and then soon after that, it'll be on video on demand and on DVD.
Mm-hmm. Now, Assyrians are all over the world. So if there are Assyrians living in Europe and Australia, you will be more than happy to have them contribute through the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I want to appeal to the international Assyrian community to help with this project. And I know we have especially in Australia, there's a large Assyrian community. And there's a large Assyrian community in Sweden. And of course, since World War I, a lot of, before the Russians went communist, they had an alliance with the Assyrians, and a lot of Assyrian refugees went into Russia. So there's a community all around the world. And yeah, I would like to have the entire global Assyrian community. But we need to understand that American movies, of course, they have a global market. And this is going to be an English language movie. I'd like to have this movie dubbed into Assyrian, maybe later. I like to have it dubbed into the Assyrian, language, maybe the Chaldean dialect, perhaps into Arabic and even Farsi, and let this movie have an international audience. That's part of my goal. But right now we got to focus on getting fundraising, getting the movie made, and then we'll look at distribution and an international distribution.
Sounds good. So if once you make the movie and you're successful, would you be interested in mentoring a young movie maker, an Assyrian movie maker who's interested in making a movie?
Yeah, I like to. I'm partnering with with Assyrian Americans like Guli Haydu in this movie, and that's our goal. If this movie is successful, of course, I have ideas for other movies. I'm a very creative person, a writer, and I would like to work on later Assyrian heritage projects as well. So yeah, I got ideas, and if it's a Assyrian heritage project, I'd like to get the Assyrian community involved. Maybe later on down the line, there's the story of Tobit, which is in the Bible, which is totally set in Assyria, and Tobit mentions the Assyrian philosopher Ahikar, and I was thinking of having Tobit and Ahikar as one story, and people could see the Assyrian Empire in the height of its glory, told through a biblical tale. So we'll see about that. That's way down the road. What we're focusing on right now is the Acts of the Apostle Thaddeus, then maybe Thomas, and then we'll go on from there. But yeah, I'd like to get the steering committee involved in other projects as well in the future if this goes forward.
Oh, good. Well, best of luck to you, and we look forward to it. In fact, I'm looking forward to being there and reporting it.
Yeah,
And
the thing is, a lot of people are excited. It's like, oh, that's great. This is a movie with Lorenzo Lamas telling you a Syrian story. But if you're excited about it, then give $5, $10, $15, $100. You know, because that way it's not just a good idea. By giving, you can make this idea a reality. And like I said, perhaps we can change the world through this film.
Sounds good,
So,
Stephen.
well, if you're excited about it, support it by giving. And yeah, if we go for it, absolutely, Romina, we'll have you on the set interviewing Lorenzo Lamas.
That sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. I am sure it's going to happen. Because you are going to will it, and it's going to happen, God willing.
Amen.
I'm going to finish the program by showing a short clip about Apostle Thaddeus.
Iran's been known as one of the main cradles of Islam for centuries. But it's also home to one of the most ancient Christian churches in the world, the Black Church of Armenian Orthodox. Qare Kelisa, as we call it in Farsi, is a holy site for Armenians, especially because a disciple of Jesus Christ, Saint Thaddeus, is laid there to rest. Arash Khalatbari tells us more from Iran's West Azerbaijan province.
From way afar in the mountainous region of Chalran, 20 kilometers from the town of Baku, where Iran and Armenia meet today, there is St. Thaddeus Church. The massiveness of the church has successfully overcome the abyss of nature for thousands of years. Welcome to St. Thaddeus Church, the oldest church in the world. St. Thaddeus is also called Qare Kelisa by locals. Qare means black in Turkish language, and Kilisa is Persian for church. St. Thaddeus Church has been destroyed many times in history, but it was renovated over and over again to hide the scars of history it has witnessed. St. Thaddeus was buried here on 66 AD, but the history of this church goes back to 7th century, and tests done on this Christian emblem have proven that. The force of good was stronger, and the church was reconstructed again in 1691 with black stones, and it was made even bigger in 1800s with white stones for all to know that the church has become more glorious than the way it was before the earthquake. It's written on this rock that St. Thaddeus, one of the 12 disciples of Jesus Christ, is buried here. And then there is a picture of a man engraved in the rock here, and there is a sign on top of all of these.
در سال 2008 میلادی سازمان میراث فرهنگی ایران یک بخشی از مجموعه کلیساهایی که در استان‌های آذربایجان شرقی و غربی قرار دارند به ثبت جهانی یونسکو رساند که این مجموعه عبارتند از کلیسای تادئوس مقدس که همین بنا میباشد با 4 مقبره در اطرافش و قبرستان خود روستای خود قره کلیسا.
Christians come here and reside in their tents near the church for a few days, just as they used to in the past. Performing religious ceremonies is not the only incentive why the pilgrims come to this church. Friends that have not seen each other for years renew their meeting and visitation and rest for a few days.
کسایی که اینجا حضور دارن زائران مسیحی هستن که از اقصا نقاط ایران و مسیحیانی که از تمامی نقاط دنیا برای این مراسم هر سال حضور پیدا میکنن. خود بنده الان میتونم بگم 20 ساله که به صورت ممتد توی این مراسم حضور داشتم.
We are Italian and so we are Catholic, and during this trip we were reading a book about Persia, about Iran, and we read about this church, the oldest Christian church in the world, and about the disappointment of Armenian people. And we said we can go to see how is it.
St. Thaddeus Church is world famous, and a great number of Armenians as well as Assyrians and rarely Catholic families from inside and outside the country come to the church to hold religious rituals. I also came here to see the old rituals firsthand and to become more familiar with these good people.
People that come here have a wish. They light a candle to get their wish.
Saint Thaddeus was martyred on 66 BC. Many Christians believe that he was buried right here under this church. Iranian Christians and Christians from all over the world come here on the last weekend of July to honor his martyrdom.
Church services are held in the mornings and evenings of the first 2 days of the ceremony. But on the third and the last day, the service is held only once and within a special festival held by an archbishop who comes from Tehran. Arash Khalatari reporting for Iran.
خزي المغبة اللي هي قد مغبالو خنا program بس مالو خون فيلم سپورت ودون ل كونسيتون زيز قد فيلم دونيت اوديتون قد قامي ازل فيلم خا پاسل تو گرت لق دین بت مغزیه قد اخناتورای مجور کریستیانوی تا گرویسو خلونو کده دنیا ایش اتلی هیوی قد فیلم بسندیتون له پوشون بشنه